Hello, my name is David Jamison. You might know me as a cartoonist on Instagram or Twitter, and I'm here to tell you that your childhood was trash if you didn't watch The Spectacular Spider-Man. I loved and watched the 90s animated show. Loved the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. Like, Spider-Man is one of my favorite characters, like, of all time. So when there was a new Spider-Man cartoon coming out, like kind of around the same time period of the Batman animated show and the Teen Titans animated show, like that sort of different style. Like it was like I was familiar with Batman the animated series and Spider-Man the animated series, and then the Batman and Spectacular Spider-Man were sort of like, here's a different look for that
Yeah.
character. And I was
Right.
just sort of like blown away by the Batman cartoon, and then same with Spectacular Spider-Man. I'm like, oh, like that's a really like stylistic, like different version of Spider-Man. I just instantly love the style. Sean Galloway's artwork or character designer on that. And
Yeah.
I saw the first poster probably in like 2006 or something like that on the internet. And I was just like, oh my God, like I was so excited. Like, I'm like, it's the Batman, but Spider-Man. I'm so in.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a formula back in like the early '90s, right? Once Batman animated series came out, is pretty much the Bruce Timm method
Mm-hmm.
for however long. Between that, Justice League, they did like I think like a Green Lantern spinoff or something like that for like the Bruce Timm style.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you get to like the early 2000s, I think 2008 is when the Spectacular Spider-Man came out.
Yeah. It was like
Yeah.
2007, 2008. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, then you have like that, and like you said, the Batman, Brave and the Bold.
I was
That kind of
yeah, the Batman 2004, and then even Brave and the Bold after that was again very stylized, but specifically the Batman 2004, which was like
yeah,
the people always point to the Joker design in that with like the long hair and the Arkham whatever I can't straight jacket, the straight jacket.
yeah.
They're
Oh
always like,
yeah.
oh, is that one where Joker looks weird? I'm like, yeah, that one. I love that one.
That was that. I didn't watch much of that one, but I think I remember having like a couple of the figures from it
Yeah,
because I like the style.
the style was
You
so
know,
cool. Yeah,
I kind of lean towards that stuff. Like with figures, sometimes I'll buy the stupidest toys because the design looks so. Even if it's kiddie, right? It might
mm-hmm.
look childish and very like streamlined and basic. And I mean, to a certain degree, those Bruce Timm designs were.
Yeah,
And I mean, even then, I had so many Bruce Timm figures from like the Batman series, and then when the Adventures of Superman came out, all those, and I couldn't get enough.
yeah,
But specifically the Batman one, when that came out, like there was like edgy lines and sharp lines, and it made him just like striking a little bit,
yeah,
right? It wasn't like soft. It was very like rigid, and it
yeah.
was a different way to do things.
And that very sharp style has influenced me. Like whenever I describe my own artwork, I say like sharp. Like that's sort of what and it's intentional, but also it's just
I'd
kind of
agree.
natural now, where it's like, yeah, the Batman is a clear influence, and then kind of ironically, the Spectacular Spider-Man has a very soft and round style
Yeah,
for some parts. Like some parts are sharp as well, but the roundness of the of Spider-Man is pretty fun.
yeah. He's a little bit more fluid.
Yes, I remember in some behind the scenes, I think they used that word like fluid, like they wanted the animation and the designs to be fluid because Spider-Man's such an agile character. They just wanted something a little bit simpler from the 90s animated show or compared to where Spider-Man, Spider-Man just in general, the design has all the webbing on it. So,
Yeah,
and drawing Spider-Man as a kid, I'm just kind of like, you don't really realize until you're drawing Spider-Man how planned out the webbing is on like the classic design. Like there's this kind of specific design to the webbing where I don't know if I figured it out still, but like as a kid, I'm just like, I was just kind of messing around and being like, yeah, that's Spider-Man, and just like very messy, kind of,
yeah,
yeah, uncontrolled
yeah.
webbing on this.
Yeah, you think
Yeah.
it's just
No.
a simple pattern, but then
Yeah,
like you dissect it and you're like, no,
yeah,
and like I'll look at the like a lot of Spider-Man drawings too, and what kind of not necessarily blows my mind, but kind of puts like a wrench in my gears is for the hand webbing,
Oh
right? The
yes,
way it transitions around the fingers
yes,
to the hand, because it's not just wrapping around the fingers and then around the hand.
yeah,
It's definitely it's intricate
yes, it
and
is.
it's mind bending
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. My from personal experience drawing I think it's the neck to the shoulder area. I've always have trouble. I'm like, where does it go? Like, where, yeah,
Where does it
Yeah.
transition?
yeah. Like, where does the line sort of like from neck? Maybe it's like this line of the neck to the collarbone down. That's like, and then if you're doing like a like different pose, it's like, okay, well, where is that now? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that being a huge nightmare.
yeah,
Like when they designed Spider-Man, there's definitely a big middle finger to any artist
Try to copy
following.
me now,
yeah, yeah.
suckers.
Yeah,
Well, this is
I think
back
that's
in
the original like watermark. is Spider-Man's webs
the day. Yeah.
into it.
Like, so I had heard from my mom, it's a different time back in early 2000s. My mom, I'm also a kid, but my mom's like listening to the radio as she does, like when she goes to work, and she tells me like secondhand, "Hey, I heard on the radio that they're making a Spider-Man movie." I'm like, "Oh my god, like that's crazy." And it's also me being a kid, but it felt like eons in between when she said they're making a movie, and I just nothing, had heard nothing, seen nothing, I just heard that, and so much time had passed, and then one night I'm like TV's on, like I'm in the living room, like just being a kid, and a trailer or teaser, honestly don't know which one, but a teaser trailer or something comes on for the Spider-Man movie, and I don't like remember it super clearly, but I remember it sort of maybe being like cityscapes or something. Like you don't really know
Yeah.
what it was right away, but then it shows Spider-Man or it shows the webbing. It shows like you realize that it's the live action Spider-Man movie, and I'm just like, oh my god! Like I'm just like screaming like Spider-Man, Spider-Man, and my dad's in the kitchen and he comes out like, what's going on? I'm like Spider-Man, Spider-Man. I'm like pointing at the TV and he's like, I thought he was at the front door. Like what's going on? So yeah, I was just obsessed with Spider-Man before the Tobey Maguire movies and from the 90s cartoon, and then the movie probably like solidified like, yes, Spider-Man is my favorite thing ever. But
Yeah,
Oh
yes,
yeah.
and then Spectacular Spider-Man a little bit after that continued the love for the character.
Yeah, I mean those when those Tobey Maguire movies came out, there was something different, you know.
Yeah,
Like yeah, I think it was a year maybe or so before when the X-Men movie came out, right? So you had I think it was Blade, which was more like a mature movie, but
mm,
really like one of the first comic movies that we
yeah,
had, and then X-Men, and then Spider-Man, and those two were kind of like the launching point
yep,
for everything we got today
yep,
with comic movies. And they were the way they did him in the Sam Raimi movies was
yep,
it was literally like he came right off the screen.
yeah,
They even you look at like the Amazing Spider-Man movies and then the current ones with
Tom
Tom
Holland.
Holland, and to me those suits are kind of lackluster, right?
mhm,
Everything is kind of just etched in. Well, Andrew Garfield's is like etched in. Tom Holland's is all like CGI, but then you have Tobey Maguire where all those patterns for the webbing were like actually embedded into the
yeah,
suit and they're like raised up,
yes,
and you could tell, right?
yeah,
Like you could tell the quality of that suit compared to the others, and that's definitely like one of the best suits that they've come up with
yeah,
in the past 20 something years of the character
yeah,
in the silver
Live
screen.
action.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
23 years. Yes.
which is funny. I mentioned this on here before too. Is that my daughter's 5 and she loves the Tobey Maguire movies. I might be a bad parent for letting her watch them because they're PG-13, but she loves those
yeah,
movies.
nice,
She doesn't want to watch any other ones. She wants to watch that the first and second one.
same.
She hasn't gotten to the third one yet. Where they tried to they reached too far
I like
in
I
that
like
one.
Spider-Man 3. but it's whatever,
It's
that one's
look, a lot of people crap on it, but it was what it was.
yeah,
It wasn't it it wasn't what everybody wanted it to be, but that's okay.
yeah.
It was what it was. There's a ton
I,
of people who hated Amazing Spider-Man, especially Amazing Spider-Man 2. I loved it. I was like, nah. Like,
see, I like that Venom, not the Eddie Brock, because that's not Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock's not some scrawny little, you know,
that was
nerdy
Topher
kid.
Grace, right?
It
Yeah,
is
for
Topher Grace,
Grace.
yeah.
Yeah,
To
Eric.
The
me,
iconic,
Eddie Brock is a jock,
yeah,
right?
big guy,
He's
yeah.
supposed to be bigger, and I didn't like that. But the Venom character in it, even though I don't, if I remember correctly, there wasn't a lot of we when he was talking.
I don't think so.
They didn't lean into that part,
Yeah,
but the look of him, I like him better than the CGI one we have with Tom Hardy.
interesting. Yeah, I think
And
Tom Hardy fits that bulky Eddie Brock
yes,
that you think of, but
Yeah,
yeah,
he's a better Eddie Brock.
yeah,
he
for sure.
is. Yeah, yeah, and at least with those movies, they definitely lean into the symbiote relationship of the
Yes,
we and the talking in his head and stuff like that.
yeah,
But as far as like my thing with the Spider-Man movies, it's all CGI.
yeah,
Whereas they threw Topher Grace in that uncomfortable
yeah,
outfit, and
And he rocked it.
yeah,
he rocked it. And it had its origins through Spider-Man. He had the suit first.
yeah.
And my thing is, one of the iconic things about Venom is that pattern, right? The
Yeah,
white.
gotta have the giant white spider. Like
And
that's
you know what? I'm okay with those Venom movies being like his origin as like an anti-hero, but I want that suit to come off of him, get on Spider-Man, and then go back to Eddie Brock and put that
yeah,
on. And I'm fine with that if
yeah.
that's what they do it. But I don't see Sony being smart enough to do that
Is
stuff.
it like I'm like wondering, is it really that complicated, or would it be so bad if, like, just going back in time, why can't we just put a spider on it? Maybe it doesn't make sense, but why can't we just have the spider on the chest? Like, I don't know, because the
Yeah.
design's pretty good, and if it had the spider, I feel like a lot of people would forgive anything else, because it's like, oh, it looks like Venom with that. Without it, it just feels like it's kind of missing something.
Yeah. Yeah. It was also back in the day where I think they were a little afraid to go too cartoony with things. You have like the Green Goblin, who it was like an armored suit. It
Yeah,
looked goofy as hell,
yeah,
but for some reason they're afraid to do too cartoony. Even
yeah.
though, do you ever see the test footage of like the first like
The Green
costume that they
Goblin.
did? That actually was like like
Yeah,
a puppeteered face that looked
yeah,
like the Green Goblin. Like, why
yeah,
didn't they do that?
yeah,
Um, but like just like that, the X-Men movies, they're afraid to go too cartoony. They even made a joke: "What would you rather have, yellow
yeah,
spandex?" And 23 years later, everyone's like, "Yes,"
yes,
and they're finally giving it to us in Deadpool
yeah,
3, and
yeah.
it's like everyone's
We
happy.
get
And
one person in yellow spandex that we know of.
yes,
So
yeah,
far, we
well,
got one.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I'll take the one.
Yeah.
I got my
hey,
I do actually have a yellow spandex Deadpool pop somewhere.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, to quote Spider-Man, everybody gets one.
Yeah.
So,
The Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon was it also kind of did the animated side, because the 90s one was good, but I personally have a weird affinity for like Ultimate Spider-Man, the one with Drake Bell. Weirdly,
Oh, yeah.
but it played into like that. It played into this like whole MCU animated verse that kind of existed around that time frame, where everybody was voiced by the same people across like 7 different cartoons, and it was the continuity was great. I loved it. The other weird thing was like Spectacular Spider-Man was on the WB, right?
Yeah. It was
So it
weird.
wasn't like
Kids WB.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like in the kids WB. So basically they were like, we're going to give you Tiny 2 as a Freakazoid. And then like 15 years later, we're going to give you Spider-Man and a few other things. And then close down shop. because
Yeah,
basically
I feel like
the TV show was like one of the last things they produced.
that's what I was gonna say. I think Spectacular Spider-Man is one of the
Yeah,
last shows on Kids WB.
Jeez. It's just mic drop.
Yeah,
that's it. We're
they,
done.
they were done.
yeah.
We peaked. We're going home.
So Nick, you're a fan, or you like the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, and Mike, how do you feel about Spectacular Spider-Man or just Spider-Man cartoons? Like, which one would you point out to be that's my favorite Spider-Man?
Yeah, so I've the Ultimate and Spectacular. I've only had limited exposure to,
Mhm.
mainly by discovering them, on demand or on Disney Plus, and start. I like starting from the beginning of everything when I can. But my thing would be the '90s one
Yeah,
because I grew up with it.
yeah,
It's that and Batman animated series, X-Men animated series. There's like a Fantastic Four cartoon, like that whole universe. I love that.
yeah.
It was Fantastic Four. There's a Hulk, the Incredible Hulk cartoon. But my biggest thing for that is, as a kid, it was a little bit of a mature take on Spider-Man. He was more like of an adult, like college
Hmm.
age, as opposed to like freshman in high school. But what I loved about it was the fact that it explored his rogues gallery so much,
Hmm.
and that's what like drew me into that stuff as a kid. Like I loved
Yeah,
characters.
Hmm.
Like I said with like the Bruce Timm stuff, the characters, the Bat family. They gave us Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl. You had everyone, and to that extent, they gave us action figures of
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah,
And it was the same thing for me as with Spider Man, right? Like they gave you the Green Goblins, the Doc Ocks, the Cravens, the Sandmans, the Prowlers, and I had all those toys too.
yeah,
So that was like a huge like thing for me because like the character designs and like Nick and I've said this before. When you want to talk about Rogues Gallery in the entire spectrum of comics, you have Batman and you have Spider Man,
yeah,
and no one else's Rogues Gallery can rival the two of those.
yeah,
And that's a testament to the character
yeah,
themselves and you know the the creative minds behind it, the writers, the
yeah,
designers, everything like that.
yeah,
So that was my biggest thing. Is like I like seeing that every week.
yeah,
Um, and they did Secret Wars.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? They did Secret Wars. They gave us like 12 different Spider-Men.
We
You
talked
know,
about like the kind of alternate dimensions at the end, like or
yeah, when Madam Web came in and
yeah, yeah,
started doing that stuff where, you had like the six-armed Spider-Man was
yeah.
there.
That episode just like or episodes were very exciting for me as a kid. I'm like, look at all those different Spider-Men. I
yeah, that was so cool. Mainly for me because I love Ben Riley.
was gonna say Ben Riley showed up. That's
Yeah,
yeah,
he was for some reason like I said it before when I got into the comics as a kid, that was the arc that I kind of like stepped in the middle of. So to see him animated and in
yeah,
the cartoon and stuff, and I think they touched on his story a little, in the actual series,
yeah, a little bit.
um, with him, being a clone, but who's the real Peter Parker, who's the clone, and then um, MJ was a clone type thing, and that's the one he married.
Yeah,
I don't know. It got muddy.
the whole MJ is a water clone or whatever happened with the '90s show. I didn't follow that when I was a kid, and I haven't watched those episodes since. So I just
Yeah,
see like out of context clips, like, "Oh, she's a water clone, but she's missing," and I'm like, "Well, I don't remember that. I'm
yeah.
just
I
gonna
just remember
pretend she's
like
okay."
I just remember. I think at the end, and it's been years since I watched it too,
Yeah,
because I can't go back and watch it now. It's a little too rough for me
yeah,
as an adult. But
lame.
I think I remember like there was Peter Parker and Peter Parker, and one of them decided, "Hey, I'm just gonna change my clothes and dye my hair blonde, and you can call me Ben Riley." Like I think that was like his origin or
yeah.
whatever. But there's something about that costume with the hoodie
They
and
like
everything.
they like do rock paper scissors. Or all right, which one of us is going to be blonde and be somebody else?
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, but I was like his costume and his character. I never had an action figure of him, unfortunately, but like that arc in the cartoon. And then I always loved how they played into all these Spider-Man in there, right? You have the Armor Wars Spider-Man and like all these other ones, and then there was a six-arm Spider-Man. And while they're doing their battles and everything, he morphs into the spider, the man spider thing.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just takes over.
I was
I'm
gonna
like, ah.
say this is a little bit of a tangent where I was thinking this is just like my thoughts of like if I'm in reality and I like if I was like presented with Man Bat from Batman, like if I saw Man Bat in real life, or if I saw Man Spider in real life, which one would be more scary? Man Spider would be way more scary. He is horrific, just a
Yeah.
giant, like literal Spider Man. Like I saw, like I don't remember what the toy brand was, but there was like a toy or statue of Man Spider that I saw growing up, and it actually scared me. Like it was so scary.
I can see that.
He's horrifying.
Yeah, I mean, he was freaky.
Yeah.
He had the mandibles, the big head,
Yeah.
the arms and
I
stuff.
remember like
It was
green
freaky.
slime on this toy. Like he was just
Oh, jeez.
nasty.
He just fed.
Yeah. Just ate somebody.
Did you ever dive into the action figures and stuff from any of the
Oh yeah.
series?
Oh yeah. I was addicted to toys when I was a kid. I still am a little bit. I try not to be, but as a kid, like I was just toys were my everything. I would get every toy ever and just yeah, I don't know if I had the opportunity to get too many of the '90s Spider-Man toys, but I had like a few. I was gonna say, pretty sure I had a Hobgoblin. Like I have Hobgoblin
Yeah.
toys, but I don't know if I have '90s Hobgoblin. But Hobgoblin's one of my favorite villains, and I was gonna say one thing that Spectacular Spider-Man technically doesn't have is Hobgoblin. They have Roderick Kingsley makes like a small appearance in season 2, but Hobgoblin in costume doesn't appear, and that's like why I am very sad that it never got a season 3 because they apparently the plans are Hobgoblin and Carnage and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, like you mean the coolest ones we didn't get to see. But I got toys all the time. Like if I move my head, there's just like a stack of Funko Pops behind me.
Nice.
But I got my 2099 shirt on, and I have 2099 Funko back there from the Spider Verse movie, the new one.
Nice.
But yeah,
Still haven't seen that one.
you haven't seen the Spider or new one? Yeah.
No, haven't
Is
seen
he
the second one.
is he one of your favorite iterations of Spider-Man, the 2099?
I just think he's cool. Like I read a little bit of his comic books like recently
Yeah.
for the movie or just in that vibe, and it was fine. Like I think I just like the design. I like the look, and I love the web cape, and I missed the web cape in the movie. Like he kind of had it for one scene, but I'm like, where's the web cape? That's like gotta have the web cape.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really. Was he in any of the cartoons?
No, there was Spider-Man Unlimited, which is an animated series.
That's
That was
what
like,
I think I was thinking of.
yeah, he has the web cape, and it was like seemed like it was semi-inspired by 2099, but it was Peter Parker. Like it was just like kind of a different version of Peter Parker.
Yeah, it wasn't Miguel. Okay.
Yeah, I wish or like to imagine like an alternate reality where that show was a 2099 animated series. Like I just like to think about what that would look like. Like it's just
Yeah. Because I remember watching that, and that's why I thought, because he had the cape, and it was set in the future. Right?
It was
like
it was weird because like I always got the vibe like yes, this is the future, but it's really Peter Parker of his time of 1999 or whatever, but he goes to an alternate Earth, which is like kind of futuristic and it's run by animal people, and it just kind of feels like the future, but it's actually just another Earth. It's actually counter Earth, and the High Evolutionary is all that, and I didn't really process that as a kid, but with like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 dealing with High Evolutionary and Counter Earth, I was like, oh, that's a real thing from the comics. I thought that cartoon was just making up stuff. Like, oh, it's animal people now. I'm like, I guess. One of the things that I love about the Spectacular Spider-Man is that it takes the grand history of the character of Spider-Man from every iteration that was, made at that time, and puts it into a linear story of, you know, it kind of condenses the mythos of Spider-Man into a digestible story that makes sense and that flows from one episode to the next and like builds upon the history of Spider-Man. And I just absolutely love that. I love cartoons or series that do that. Like they take an
Yeah.
existing property and they streamline it or whatever. Like they respect the history and they kind of tell the story in a different way. And Ben 10 Omniverse, I feel, does that well with the Ben 10 series. Like they kind of took everything that was uh, presented and kind of smoothed it out. And also the Young Justice animated series, I felt, did that as well.
I love Young Justice.
I love
Young
Young
It
Justice
was
Justice.
is
so
like
good.
one of my favorite cartoons.
Yes.
And it
He's
took
one
how
of my
long of a
favorite
break
superhero
and then came
cartoons.
back?
You say break. It was straight up canceled
Yeah.
because people weren't buying the toys.
I'm trying to be.
Like,
I don't remember. It was almost
no,
like
that's
10
why it was
years.
canceled.
It was like almost 10 years in between.
Yes.
It was crazy. I was depressed the entire time.
Yeah, but you know what? You know what killed me is like I tried to come back and I like the new. I just couldn't get into the new. Was it Alien Invasion or whatever it was called?
The third
The
season was, oh, come on. The second season was Invasion. Third
okay,
season was, oh, I can't remember, but Phantoms was season 4.
Nick's cheating.
I am 100%
I hear
cheating.
I hear the Google machine running.
Yeah.
That's what it's for.
It's Outsiders. All
Outside.
right.
Okay, yeah.
And
I
I'll be
couldn't get
honest.
into that as much as the first two seasons.
I'm going to agree that seasons 1 and 2 are incredible. And then unfortunately, season 3 didn't live up for me. And season 4 was okay. Like I was just kind of a little bit bummed. Like it just didn't feel the same.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, so Young Justice season 1 and 2, I literally could not watch fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And when it got canceled, I was also extremely bummed. But it also gave me a chance to go like read all of the comics, especially the ones that were put out that looked same cartoon, like as it was the same style as the cartoon, and I was like, okay, I can. And it felt like it was like a continuation. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm reading comics that are season 3, and that's
Yeah.
how I put it in my brain. So season 3 had its moments.
It did.
It felt like a weird out of place is what it felt.
I did want to say about Spectacular Spider-Man. I was sort of saying how like each episode sort of moves into the next episode, and we were also talking about Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery being like top
Yeah,
tier, and I love that the show pretty much every episode is like introducing a new villain and their origin or whatever, and it sort of is a natural progression from one to the other. For example, episode 2 is Electro, and at the end of that episode, like it's in at some point it's in Dr. Connor's lab where Electro is like attacking, and Electro's lightning bolt like zaps the thing that Dr. Connors is working on, and that electric jolt then
okay.
turns Connors into the lizard. Like that event is why he turns into the lizard, and I like how that sort of continuous thing, like a thing that happened in this episode,
Yeah, so
results
it's like
in
a
that.
just chain reaction from episode to
Yes,
episode.
yes.
That's pretty cool.
And I
I
just
like
love
that.
that the show does stuff like that. Like it is very, I couldn't think of the word. I still can't think of the word today. Where it's like the storytelling is very sequential. I can't remember like the TV term for that.
Overarching.
Yeah, like
I think
Story
there's a
arc.
term we use a lot.
yeah,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. Instead of
It,
episodic, it's overarching.
yeah,
it did
uh,
a lot. They had a lot of characters, like a lot. I looked it up the other day, and I was like, Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger was the Vulture.
Yes, yes, very good.
Oh shit! Really?
I had, like I said, I looked
Robert
it up
Englund
and
was
I was
played the
like,
Vulture. That's
yeah,
cool.
like there's a ton of people that played in that, like
Yeah.
that. Like there's a lot of known voice actors and actresses that played, a lot of the villains or other characters. Like Ed Asner was Ben Parker.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, sort of. I was gonna say because Ultimate Spider-Man, the animated show, has come up a few times, but Ultimate Spider-Man, the comic book, is one of the first comic books that I followed like seriously. I got all like I it was at a point where most of the issues were like collected like volumes when I started reading, so I got like all the volumes and was like, but I
Nice.
read it, one to whatever. I read like that whole series. So I
Yeah.
loved Ultimate Spider-Man, the comic, and I believe I read that before Spectacular Spider-Man came out. It was maybe close around the same time, but I was sort of absorbing Ultimate Spider-Man, and I really liked that Spectacular Spider-Man had elements of the comic book like integrated into the show. One of the big examples being Eddie Brock is a family friend of Peter Parker, and they grew up together. So Eddie Brock and Peter
Hmm.
Parker are brothers, or they very close friends, and I like that dynamic. It's a little different, but I liked that Spectacular Spider-Man. While the Ultimate Eddie Brock was a very skinny guy, the Spectacular Spider-Man Eddie Brock was like a bigger guy, and we've mentioned we like the bigger Eddie Brock, so I like that they sort of mixed and matched like the histories of like, all right, Eddie Brock is like a bigger guy, but he's friends with Peter Parker or
Yeah.
Ultimate Spider-Man, and
Okay. Cool.
yeah, ironically, I I didn't really watch too many episodes of the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, but like that one I didn't. I think I also was hurt that Spectacular Spider-Man was not continuing, so I think I didn't get into that one too much. But Spectacular Spider-Man, one of my favorite shows, one of my favorite cartoons. Oh, what was that? I was thinking something else. I don't remember. Yeah.
So you mentioned before as a kid drawing the webs and stuff on
Mhm.
Spider-Man. Did Spider-Man like help get you into drawing and art and everything, or was it kind of there to begin with, and Spider-Man just like accentuated it?
I'm gonna say yes. And I think the specific or a specific point that I look back on is where I I was so it kind of goes back to the Batman 2004 animated show where I was so enamored by that style, like that different take on Batman, and I found out who did the designs, and it was Jeff Masuda did the designs for the Batman, at least seasons 1 through 3, and I found his website back in the day, had sketches and all kinds of different artwork, and I just really loved his style. And he did his take on Spider-Man, and I thought it was so cool. It's kind of hard to find that image now, or at least it was for me to find it again. Like his website doesn't seem to exist anymore, but like I like that image, like his version of Spider-Man inspired me a lot. Like it's like the Batman version of Spider-Man, even more so. Like
Okay.
unique, head shapes and very like the like square fingers and all that stuff. But so I would look at that all the time, and I sort of was inspired to draw my spider. Like, what does my Spider-Man look like? Kind of based off of Jeff Masuda's artwork, and I would draw in elementary school on notebook pages or whatever. I would always draw my Spider-Man, and so I think maybe why I was so excited for Spectacular Spider-Man, it was sort of like I was like in that transition of like I want to see what my Spider-Man looks like, or I want to see like the stylized Spider-Man, like I want to make that. And then it kind of existed, like I was going to be a show on Kids WB, which the Batman was also on. So I was,
Yeah.
I was I was going to there. I was going to be there anyway, so it was cool that Spider-Man was going to be there too.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's that point, and then once Spectacular Spider-Man came out and I learned the name of who did those designs, Sean Galloway, that just added more to my influence and my inspiration as an artist. So it was like Jeff Masuda into Sean Galloway, and then that stylized take on superheroes really influenced my artwork, like when I was in elementary school. So yeah, I sort of always point to the Batman, the animated show, and then Sean Galloway as an artist in general. So Spectacular Spider-Man definitely just inspired me in general to where I'm at now with my artwork. So yes,
Nice.
Spider-Man did inspire.
That's cool. You know, we've heard it a lot, like in passing and stuff like that, like how influential that character has been for so many people. Like timeless character, right? You got
Yeah.
to think how sitting there in a little studio talking about characters, and that just gets thrown out there, and you got to think about it, like looking back, looking back at it, they must have thought to themselves, man, this is a dumb idea.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
We're gonna have this kid, he gets bit by a radioactive spider, he's got webbing and he's strong, and we're gonna call him Spider-Man. That's just like, listen,
But he's a teenager, so
I,
he's like
I
Spider
like
Boy.
I like the character, I like everything about him, but if you remove yourself from the situation, it's like, that just sounds so stupid. But I mean, so it's like Batman.
Yeah.
He's a guy. He fell down a well. A bunch of bats. It's just like,
My
And then they came up with Man Bat.
yeah,
yeah.
it was less terrifying but still terrifying.
And it's funny too, right? Like I said, the rogues galleries. There's Batman, there's Spider-Man, and you look at the other parallels between them. They both have tragic upbringings,
Yeah.
right? Like it's amazing how those two things like are just so compelling between the two characters, right? I mean, even you saying, you're kind of drawing big parallels between the Batman and the Spectacular Spider-Man. We're like both here for you, literally at the same time, just like here, making your whatever day it came out on, Saturday mornings, whatever. It was like, the hype for you, and the fact that both of those characters are just so compelling and like deep,
And something I did want to talk about and is the sort of time when Spectacular Spider-Man came out, and the Batman too. But like when that came out, like I sort of look back fondly on being a kid and not having, like, I didn't know what was going to happen on those shows. Like I would go off of what the preview for the next, like I'd watch the episode and then it would be like next time, and it would show a little preview,
And then you're
and
excited.
I was excited. I was like, oh my god, I can't wait for the next episode. I have no idea. Like I'm just like, it was just like different. Like now it's just like sort of everything is like leaked and like everything's spoiled. Not, I'm saying everything, but you know what I mean. Like a lot of stuff is sort of like, this is what's gonna happen in 2 years on this movie. I'm like, okay, like you just kind of know, we kind of know where it's going. And it was nice at the time to just be surprised. And I'll have the specific example of, what episode is it? I don't know what episode it is, but it's the episode before the Sinister Six episode, which is in season 1. So that episode ends. I'm watching it Saturday morning, like as it's airing, and then they show the preview for the next episodes about the Sinister Six. And I was like, oh my god! Like I was just like, I remember being a kid on like Saturday afternoon going outside and just like sort of thinking to myself, oh man, I can't wait to see the Sinister Six. Like I was just like so excited. Like it was just, I don't know, it's just a nice feeling to like,
that escalated quick, huh? Season 1 and they did the Sinister Six, like right.
It was like the end of season 1, but it was again, it was so naturally put together. Like it didn't feel like they introduced each villain like as the show's going. Like it was so well done.
Yeah. I mean, the way you described it, with it kind of like, like chain
chain reaction is a really good word for it, because
that's pretty cool.
They had this theme within the first season, like the episode titles was sort of I wish I had a better word for it, but it was like scientific um, theories probably isn't the right word, but like the first episode, survival of the fittest. The last episode is nature versus nurture. Like it was sort of
Okay.
these scientific terms
Yeah.
throughout the series or the season one, and so that idea of a chain reaction within these terms. Peter Parker is like a scientist, or
Yeah.
partly a scientist. So
Yeah.
I don't know, just the whole approach of the show was very good. And I didn't say we talked about Young Justice as well. Like Greg Weisman was a very important part writer and creator of both of those shows. So I was a mega Greg Weisman fan from both of those shows. Like I love his work.
Yeah.
Those jerks
No,
knew what they were doing.
What's that?
I said those jerks knew what they were doing.
Yeah, they did. They really
everyone's
did.
every once in a while, that's what happens is somebody gets involved, and you can look at the MCU as a current example of like, Kevin Feige got involved and Jon Favreau started it, and everybody got involved, and it's done it's doing its thing, right? Maybe James Gunn can save DCU. I don't know. I don't know. Look, the problem is like they've tried so many different aspects. They're trying so hard, and I don't think they actually have a plan. And I've been going back and I've been watching because my 10-year-old, we were like, okay, so we got a few like Marvel movies behind, so we're like, all right, the kid's 10, like he doesn't even remember having seen like Iron Man 1, 2, 3, whatever. So we month and a half ago, we started watching the MCU from the beginning, right? And where we stopped at the end of phase 2, so we watched Ant-Man and we kind of stopped for a moment because that's a lot, right? And we're going into back to school and stuff like that, so we can't pump out like 4 movies a week anymore. But anyway, kid stays up until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I'm sure some parents are going to yell at me, but it's the summer. What's he going to do? He's going to wake up tomorrow morning and, I don't know, watch more TV, play Minecraft, whatever it is he does while I'm at work.
Living the dream.
Yeah.
Right, living the dream. The dream I wish I had, back.
Yeah, summer as a kid, like you just stay up and you go to bed. Like
That's it.
that's the best time of your
It's
life.
fire.
Yeah.
It's just so good. But
I used
but
to go to
that
bed when
is,
the sun came up.
Yeah.
yeah. If you're not going to 6 a.m., what's
Yeah.
that? Bedtime, right?
Yeah.
That's not an awake time. That's
Yeah.
a go to bed time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's it. Is like every once in a while you get a group of people who run something so well. That's why the Arrowverse worked so well. I forget what his name is, but there's a guy who worked on Arrowverse, and when they were trying to build the DCU, he's like he put his name in there, and he was like, "Hey, I'm super interested in this. I want to be involved." Didn't even get a phone call, and I was like, "It's kind of like the dude's already been doing it for like a decade. Like, I don't know what he's in. Like, I don't know why you're not giving him a chance or something like that, right?" But there's like a lot of we go back, the Ultimate Spider-Man was done by a lot of the same people, right? Or no, the Ultimate Spider-Man, Hulk and the Agents of Smash, Avengers, Earth's Mighty. Look, I love that show way more than I probably should have as an adult. Hulk and the Agents of Smash. We'll come back to that in a second, but like the Avengers show, and they brought in so many characters. And kind of like what you talked about with Spectacular Spider-Man, like I didn't really watch that because I was kind of like hurt over them canceling it. And they did the same thing. Like they were like ending Ultimate Spider-Man, and then like during the last season, they're talking about the new one afterwards, and I was like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's a little weird.
Yeah.
But Hulk and the Agents of Smash, for people who don't know, was a show focused around Hulk, Red Hulk, She-Hulk, Scar, and A-Bomb.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds pretty cool.
And it was basically, it was great. Like it was and the guy who voiced the Hulk in all the Avengers stuff at the time, and anytime he weirdly popped up in Ultimate Spider-Man and like more than a dozen times.
Is it
Uh,
Fred Tatis?
Fred Tacciatori,
Yeah.
or look, apologize if you
Yeah.
watch this. I'm sorry I butchered your last name.
He's
But
the
yeah,
Hulk. Like that's
no, that's it.
yeah.
It's like he is the voice of the Hulk.
Yeah.
That's like why I said Greg Sipes' real name is just Beast Boy now at this point. Beast Boy was on the middle. But anyway, you're
Go.
right. Huh?
I said Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, it's so good.
Listen.
Wait.
My wife gets so mad because I'm it's a little embarrassing to actually say it out loud, like being recorded, but I'll like go up to her and I'll just be like, "Damn legs, mama." And she's like, "Shut the hell up." Like, can I just say, love it or hate it, Teen Titans Go is amazing. It's so
it
good.
is way better than it ever was. I don't think anybody anticipated it to be what it is, and I think what I think helped it, unfortunately, was the cancellation of Young Justice. Because it was like we were like, oh, we want these characters and this is ridiculous. Fine, I'll take it. And we've been stuck now for 10 years.
Yeah.
I say stuck, but I've enjoyed 98% of the episodes that are out there. Specifically, the ones where they start making the music.
Oh man, yeah.
Like, and it's the creators writing songs and performing it. It's like when you find out that the cast of Metalocalypse really toured as the band. And it was like the creators, they were just themselves, and they just happened to be like a heavy metal. They happened to play heavy metal music. Anyway, so Hulk and the Agents of Smash was a really ridiculous show. And I think they get Devil Dinosaur at some point. And it just gets more ridiculous from there. But it was a really good show. It was more entertaining than it should have been, but you know, but that's the idea, is you need somebody to kind of build that world, if you will, that makes it great. And it's hard to get sometimes. Please take a look at, the DC universe, right? Or Marvel, Sony. Like the Sony characters or the Marvel characters at Sony, they have a weird direction that I don't think people. It seems like they're trying to do things that just don't make sense, is really what it is.
Yeah.
Do you hear they pushed Craven back to August 2024?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I did not hear that.
Yeah. I did
They
the same thing you just did.
For what?
I don't know.
The writer's strike is part of it.
Oh.
Yeah, but isn't it like 90%? It's the writers and actors striking, not the like
video production people.
Yeah.
No.
The Rhino.
What's that?
I want to see the Rhino.
Yeah, I want to see what they do.
Rhino.
It's going to be Paul Giamatti in a
I was going to say, is it Paul Giamatti in a suit again? Because I'll be okay with that.
The Rhino is in the movie, but like they just showed his hand. Like, I'm like, I want to see what he looks like. Yeah, I want to see what he looks like. But I was talking to people again at work, like when that Craven trailer dropped, and they're like, oh, is it Paul Giamatti? But I'm like, no, but he kind of says like, I'm the Rhino. Like he kind of says. I said everybody who plays the Rhino has to say that now, like moving forward. I'm the Rhino.
It's like in the X-Men 3 movie where the Juggernaut shows up and he says, "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch," and the entire theater erupted, and I was like, that's "Good job, internet."
That's from the comics.
It was from the redubbed YouTube video that was blowing up the internet. I really hope that the entire
I thought there was a comic panel where he says that, and that's where they like took it from. I could be completely wrong, but
I could also be completely wrong. I don't know. Somebody tell me. now I would now I just want to watch the GI Joe movie where it's done by the guys at Fensler Films who did the GI Joe PSAs, but it's the whole movie that's them. Uh, but no, it's I'll be honest, I haven't seen the Craven trailer. But what was it? There was Instagram reel going around that my my better half saw, and she's like, so, and it's like a bunch of cast from Age of Ultron walking on stage at Comic-Con, and she's like, who's this? And I was like, Quicksilver? She's like, you're right, that is Quicksilver. It's just hard to tell when he
No,
doesn't have
that's
the
kick
white hair.
ass.
It's like, that's what I said. I was like, yeah, I mean, it's much easier to recognize him as Kick-Ass. And she's like, wait, what?
No,
And
no,
I was
no,
like,
no. That's Craven.
that's exactly what I did. I was like, you mean? I was like, oh, you might mean Craven, who he kind of looks a little bit more because he was a lot scruffier when he was doing performances. So he didn't look like Kick-Ass,
Yeah.
maybe Kick-Ass too. He was like a little bit scruffier, but he looked a lot like Craven while he's like doing the panels for that movie, because he like had stopped shaving and like let it grow out and stuff like that. And Aaron Johnson has definitely, and I was like, man, he's got like a trifecta of superheroes at this point,
Yeah,
across all
Just like
the
Chris
like,
Evans.
yeah.
I think it was
Chris
said
Evans.
he was
Yeah.
Human Torch and Captain
He was
America.
he was Human Torch. He was in the movie Push.
Oh,
He
that's
was in the
right. He was in
Losers.
Push. I forgot about that. And
He was in the
Losers,
Losers. Yeah.
and
So
Oh,
he's,
Losers, yeah.
Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So he's got like a quintuplet. Yeah, Chris
Although,
Evans is.
who was it? The guy who played Superman and the Atom.
Yeah,
Brandon
Brandon
Routh?
Routh.
Yeah, I like. Wasn't he the vegan in it? Like,
Yes, he is.
Oh, that's right. He was in Scott
Yeah,
Pilgrim
when
too.
Scott Pilgrim came out, I'm like, Captain America and Superman in this movie. This is so cool.
Yeah,
I think I read something today that they're making like another movie or something, and because Michael Cera's coming back,
An
as Scott
anime
Pilgrim.
on Netflix, like an
Oh,
animated
is it?
series.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
it's really
nice.
cool.
And he's voicing Scott.
Yeah, the entire
Nice.
cast from the movie is coming back, which is
Oh
kind of
shit,
crazy.
nice.
Yeah, and I said, yeah, I think I showed my girlfriend something about the anime, like the announcement. I'm like, the entire cast is coming back. I'm like, some of the names who are in the movie are like bigger names now than they were then. So like, this is like a huge get for this Netflix show because
And some
like,
of them are just not.
yeah, like
Sarah.
Brie Larson and Chris Evans and
Yeah.
like just tons of names
Well,
in
I mean,
there.
let's be honest. Chris Evans isn't doing Captain America anymore, so he needs work.
Yeah,
I don't think that man needs to do any work for the rest of his
he's
life.
good.
If he manages money well, no. But
Yeah.
if he snorted all the way, then
Oh,
I doubt that's what happened.
Listen,
You
I
can't.
like Chris Evans. Okay, he's a very
America's
charismatic
ass.
actor. He's got America's ass. Yes, he's gonna have something on it, like in his house, like that says that or something. Like, wouldn't you? I want something framed, like
yeah.
America. Like
do you think he'd do one of those plaster molds?
I would Photoshop like a Time magazine cover and put like my ass on it and be like, "That's America's ass." Just frame that and put it on my wall so everyone walks in and they're like,
Would you just get Time magazine to do that? Be like, look,
"Yeah."
Official.
Or you have someone like sculpt a bust of your like back end.
Even better, like just artistic license. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a hops. That's quite a close thing to those things, the adult items on the internet. That's.
So I'm not saying he would sell it. I'm saying it would be in his house.
Personal.
You know, like a water fixture in his foyer.
Oh God. I don't want to see the Chris Evans fountain. Anyway, I was thinking of some article or something came out with Oscar Isaac, I believe played 4 different Marvel characters. I think that's what it said. So 2099, Moon Knight, but who are the others? I can't remember right now.
Wait, 2099?
Spider-Man 2099. He was the voice.
Oh yeah. He was a voice. Yeah, he played Moon Knight. He was Apocalypse.
Apocalypse. Is there another one? Maybe it was just the three. Maybe it was just
Well,
three different Marvel characters.
he was in Star
Because
Wars.
Yeah,
Aaron
but that's
Taylor
not a.
Johnson is Quicksilver and Craven, but Kick-Ass is not Marvel. So maybe they're just like, oh, Oscar Isaac is three different Marvel characters. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's probably these three different Marvel characters
Yeah, it
across
was very
multiple
specific
studios. And,
Marvel, yeah.
yeah.
Because other
There's
actors are just different companies or whatever, but still
Well, I
comic
mean,
characters.
realistically, he played three characters in Moon Knight, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but okay. I mean,
It counts.
yeah, okay. Well, then we're just gonna take Warwick Davis. All right, Warwick Davis. You're like four different characters in the Harry Potter series alone.
It counts. It's acting credits.
I mean, it is.
And I don't think it's like, because it's not like voice acting, right? Where they sign you, and I think they legally can make you do 4 characters or something like that, according to like standardized contracts. It's not like that. So
Something like that. I've heard that, yeah.
Does he get royalties for like all of them? So every time one of the movies plays, is he like multiple characters in there? Like, does he get double royalties? Yeah, so 4 1-cent checks or whatever the royalty checks are at this point. Like, I don't know. Well, what was it? Like, a number of actors have come out and been like, I got Robert Carradine, the dad in Lizzie McGuire, was like, I got a $0 check.
Yeah.
It literally cost them money to get this check cut and mail it to me.
Yeah.
I was like, why wouldn't you just set up direct deposit? I mean, at the same time, I would also, if they were sending me $0 and like 1-cent checks, I would 100% turn off direct deposit, so it costs them money to do it.
Yeah.
Jesus, yeah. You think they would like pool it up, right? So like, don't cut me a check until it's at least $10. It might take 5 years, really. But you know,
that's how it was with what was it? Company, whatever it was before Rakuten. Ebates. That's what it was. That's how Ebates worked. It's like there's like multiple sites out there that'll give you like cash back on purchases, and Ebates was like the first real big one. And it was like you pooled it up, but they wouldn't cut you a check for anything less than like $30. So like once you hit that, you had like a short window of time to be like, yeah, just keep it and send me a larger check, or they would cut you the check for $30 or 30 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So you can kind of pool it and stuff like that. So I that's kind of cool. But yeah, you're right.
Can you imagine just getting random checks for like 5 cents here, like 10 cents there?
I don't know. Is it for Lizzie McGuire? Because I would expect way more money for that.
It depends. Are you Hillary Duff or
Hillary? No, I'm Lelaine Miranda.
What was the kid Beans from? Was that
Even Stevens?
Even Stevens.
Okay. That was Bernard Aaron Guerin.
Yeah.
I was Beans.
Beans was so good. He's popped up on that podcast that they have, some of the characters from that show have, and I'm like, you look so old now. He's like balding and stuff.
I gotta look him up.
And
Dude, I had the biggest crush on Tawny from Even Stevens. I'm serious. Back in the day, she had like a place where you can send like a letter to, and you get an autographed picture back. And I did that.
Oh, that's cool.
It's lost, forever lost and destroyed. But at one point, I had an actual like signed autograph of Margot Harshman. I think that's how you pronounce her name.
Yeah,
but yeah, she was like, I had a big crush on her.
I'm not gonna lie. I think Lelaine had something very similar, which wouldn't shock me because their character archetype was very similar. Um, but
Hmm.
Grown up beans is very upsetting to look at.
That just sounds so funny, grown up beans. I gotta look that up. Oh my goodness. Is he really like balding like that and stuff?
I
I
guess
don't know what door I opened. I'm sorry.
Oh my
what the
god.
I don't know what a grown bean is, but that's what he is now.
Oh my
Is
goodness.
that like a
It's,
plant? I don't know. Is he a
I mean,
plant?
A
listen, it's not
beanstalk. We
He's
all
a
know this.
beanstalk. There you go. He's a beanstalk.
it's not like he was a good looking kid, but now it's just
Oh my god.
Beans roast.
what the hell?
So
We call
ugly.
those baked beans.
He's like fully baked beans now. No, he's refried beans now.
Oh no.
Oh man.
Oh no.
I feel bad.
I feel so bad. I'm
I feel
sorry,
bad, yeah.
Bean.
What is this picture? Is he working at like an IHOP or something? He's got like a maroon smock on. Like
Well, what's his the one of the characters from the Cosby Show ended up working at like he was working at a grocery store and people pointed him out and he got started at getting acting jobs again, and I was like, why are you roasting these people? Yeah, I'm sorry that they're not the big actor that they were in the 90s and late 80s. Like,
that's the money doesn't last forever.
clearly they needed, as we now know, the residual checks aren't that large, so he
Yeah.
had to make a living.
Yeah.
And like, what's his face? The voice guy from all of the Police Academy movies.
Michael Winslow.
Michael Winslow, yeah, he was on AGT a couple seasons ago, and
Wait, as a contestant?
yeah.
you think he's known enough that he wouldn't have to do that? But that's crazy.
There's been a number of people who have been on the show, and you're like, I know you from like years ago. Like a few comedians and like a number of people, but he came back because he stepped out of the limelight to take care of his kids and family and everything like that, and he had a normal.
Way to
He's
be
like, I had a normal
respectable.
job, right?
Jeez, yeah. All he should have to do is call up Steve Gutenberg, and he's good to
So
go.
it's funny that you mentioned that, because by the time he got to AGT, he'd done like 3 or 4 movies with him on Sci-Fi. Lava Lantula and Two Lava, Two Lantula are the two favorite that I did, because Lava Lantula had like 4 or 5 people from Police Academy in it. And then Two Lava, Two Lantula was just a stupid name. I'm sorry, the movie was hilarious. The movie was much better than Sharknado. I do still think that one of my favorite things about Sharknado is how many actors and actresses that you know the names of and you've heard of showed up in one of the 5 movies of Sharknado.
I've never seen a
Because
single one.
I saw one.
I saw the first 3.
I watched Sharknado and Return to Oz on the same night with my friends in high school, and Return to Oz was the better experience. And it was
No,
more
you're
fun.
not wrong. You're not wrong. Sharknado was a weird phenomenon. But for people who like really bad movies, it somehow, there's the normal movie spectrum, and then there's, this movie is bad, this movie's good because it's so bad. Sharknado went to a level past that where you're like, this is fun bad, but then it got bad, and I'm like, I didn't, like, there were parts of me that were like, I didn't realize that you could like go there again.
They went plaid.
So at one point, I'm not kidding you, Ian Ziering is in a shark carcass from space.
Oh, Wait, in the first one or in the series?
In the movie series, like not in
No,
the first one,
Okay,
but like
as the
in the
series went on. Okay.
series, he literally he gets into outer space,
that's Fast and
hops
Furious
in a
9.
shark carcass,
That's Fast and
and
Furious 9, Nick. They ride a shark to space. A
there's
shark hops into
there
space.
is zero chance Vin Diesel or Ludacris do that. You know that. And
Hey,
Gal
that shark
Gadot is
was
definitely
family.
not doing that.
That shark
What?
was family, okay?
Yeah, but that you don't want to ride in the family carcass. That's, I gotta figure out. Look, I have to somehow figure out a way to take away beans.
That's the
Anyway,
tagline now.
no. So like, they even made
You don't want
it
to
was
ride in the family
the
car.
Fourth Awakens was like the title of the fourth movie, and I'm like, I don't understand. And like the casting, like the amount of people that show up in those movies, and I was like, you know, whatever, man. I think it I think it's great because the movies are appealing to somebody as somebody who has watched a lot of those sci-fi horror movies like Piranaconda and like I said Lavalantula and dude, Piranaconda had its own theme song that was amazing at the beginning. Like I listen like the movie started and I had to pause it and rewind it just so I could listen to the song again. It was quite good. Um but
Tell me what Zombievers.
no, I also haven't watched Velocipaster. It's on my list though. But yeah, so like it's interesting to see like it was interesting to see, you know, that whole thing become a thing and like Michael Winslow and like you said Steve Berg pop up in movies and everything like that. You know, unfortunately, I think Drake Bell won't be making that leap back. And
Shucks.
well, I mean, he did superhero movie, and that was kind of his last thing that he
The
did.
swan song.
That was his. That was his. Yeah, that was his swan song. He did Ultimate Spider-Man and superhero movie, and
He was on Grandfathered for an episode with
did
Josh
he
Peck.
actually show up there? Because
Yeah,
they're not on good terms right now.
yeah. That was Grandfathered. Sadly, was like years ago now, but
It was.
it was in a period where like, are they friends? But yeah, they did do one episode where Drake Bell was a guest star on that episode or an episode because Josh Peck was like a main character on that.
Josh Peck has now leaped over to iCarly.
Is he on that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In the new iCarly,
Yeah, like the
he
reboot
came in last
or
season
revival.
and he's popping up this season and he's he's iCarly's manager.
Oh.
And he's like, okay, so I got this great idea, and she's like, I'm not doing that. He's like, okay, so I don't have a great idea. And you know, it's good to see him back because I mean, everybody enjoyed Drake and Josh. It's kind of like where all that stuff came from, but
I was
no,
watching Drake and Josh today.
that's a good call, man.
Yeah.
It's a good call.
I needed something, not to get into my work, but like at work I can watch shows like while I'm working, and I needed like something wholesome or something like entertaining or something fun that I could just get through like the last half hour of work. Like I was sort of like running out of steam. I'm like, I need to do something different, and I put on Drake and Josh, and like that helped the time go a little faster.
Nice. Nice.
It's a good call.
Yeah.
I straight up watched the entire series of iCarly a year and a half ago because like the old one because the new one was coming out.
How does the old show hold up for you? Did you like have a good time watching?
I think it's actually better this time around.
Okay.
Because everything had time to like weirdly marinate and it came back and it was just everything you think you remember about it, you don't. and everything you liked about it is actually that much better than it was before. And I like how they've kind of played off onto it. Like the new series, if you haven't watched it, like in the first episode, they tell you like Spencer sold some of his stuff and became super rich, and he's like, yeah, so I just bought the building. So
Yeah,
that's why they're back in the same house.
yeah. I watched the first season of like the revival or continuation, and I liked it. I
Yeah,
liked
Mike, I think you had something to say before we got off
I'm
on.
going, I was looking at Drake Bell's IMDb, and before I get into some of the good stuff, apparently he has a music video called "Bitchcraft."
I don't know.
It's
I don't
like-
know.
He was an actual musician.
still is, it still is.
He
Like
Yeah,
still
music video credits, all up to current. Um, One,
isn't
he has not aged well. My
isn't
God.
he in trouble or is he not in trouble anymore?
that's
Uh,
why I said he's not going to be making the comeback.
Yeah.
He's got a
Well,
bunch
no,
of
no,
stuff that
but he's got a music video that just came out this year called "Going Away" is the song.
well,
we
But
that's
have a
the thing about
podcast.
it.
That
he's
doesn't
going
mean
away
anything.
because he got in
He did
trouble.
his swan song of superhero movie saying bye,
Yeah.
which was like 2008 too, or maybe when was
Well, so
superhero movie? Is that 2006?
Jesus, yeah,
No, that
that's a
was
while
for
ago.
That was
it
a
was
while.
long enough. It was long enough ago that I can't tell
2008.
whether.
Yeah. So
2008.
the Dark Knight and superhero movie came out the same year. Which one's better? I don't know.
You be the judge.
Yeah. Iron
So
Man as well.
he voiced a lot of Spider-Man in a lot of stuff
Yeah.
even before Ultimate Spider-Man. But in Hulk and the Agents of Smash, he not only voiced Spider-Man, but he voiced Spider-Raptor.
Okay.
Great. And he did a voice on Ben 10, Michael Morningstar.
Huh. Interesting.
So it says Ben 10, so I'm assuming that's the first series.
Interesting. Let me check that out.
So yeah, most of these credits are his music videos, though. Jeez, I'm crow.
Yeah, he did a lot. He did a lot of music.
What?
Yeah.
He was in High Fidelity. Ugh.
Oh, I see. It's the Ben 10 reboot, which I'm not very familiar with. So that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
I was 2 years old when I found out there was a reboot.
Yeah. There's a reboot of everything.
When
Yeah.
what season of Ben 10 is it when he goes into outer space and like trains with the plumbers?
Mario?
Ben 10.
No. Yeah, Ben 10.
Yeah, but does he train with Mario?
No.
That's
In
what the
the
reboot
space-
is.
Space plumbers.
Space plumber?
Are you familiar
they're
with
called.
Ben 10? Ben 10's like the space cop organization. Their name are the plumbers. So I don't remember like going into space and training with the plumbers. I'm not super sure, but the Omniverse he is series 4, and that's like my favorite. And he trains
Okay.
with Rook, who's like a plumber. Yeah, it's like there's some plumber like training going on in that series, but
Maybe that's what I was thinking of because I remember watching like the beginning, right when it first started, and then I fell off, and then I jumped back in the middle at one point, and I was like, wow, I really like this story. And he was training as a plumber at this point. I don't remember if his grandfather was around or not.
I'm gonna guess that it's probably Alien Force, which was the second series, and then after that was Ultimate Alien.
Okay.
Those two series, I don't know them as well. The original series and Omniverse are like the ones that I personally really like and know those ones better. But Alien Force was all about learning more about the plumbers, and Ben, again, it's like he's like 15, like a 5-year gap from the original series to now. So he's a little bit grown up. He's learning about, the alien system going on. So it's probably that one, Alien Force.
Gotcha.
I remember the first episode, or I was revisiting the first episode of Alien Force, and there's this alien plumber agent who they meet, or he's kind of like attacking them, and he's kind of like maybe like a hammerhead kind of guy, and he's attacking them, and they're like, wait, we're good guys, and he's like, oh, like that's good to know, like we can be friends. Like it was resolved so fast. I'm like, why? Like,
Well,
it
that
should stop shooting
de-escalated
at us. He's
quickly.
like, okay.
Hey, I mean, when you connect, I guess, right? But all right,
I think Uncle, or not Uncle, Grandpa Max's name came up. He's like, oh, Max, he's my friend. I'm sorry.
they're both trying to save Martha. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, poor Ben. All right, David. It's kind of late. We've
yeah,
been talking to you for quite a while now. We appreciate it. Thanks for
yeah.
joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah.
I hope.
Before you take off, tell everybody where they can find you and all the fun stuff about you.
I am on Instagram at David Jamison 222. Jamison is Jamison, and then Twitter is the Jam22 or X, but I'm gonna call it Twitter. Um, so those are my two social media places, really, and then my website's davidjamisonillustration.com. And yeah, I probably won't get into the project I'm working on too much because it hasn't really been announced yet. But soon I will be
Keep it
sharing
secret.
more about that project. And yeah, it's just a little. It's like a comic. It's a comic. It's a short story. It's yeah. It's like I keep saying it's like a pilot. Like it's sort of like a here's an idea. Like let's
Sure.
see what where happens with this. But that'll be shared pretty soon.
There you go.
Moral
So
of the
watch
story
out
is
for
keep
it.
an eye on your socials.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Oh my god, I could talk about street sharks. Oh my god.
Oh man.
And so I
I mean,
might.
you
If
can switch
nobody
it.
has that. If nobody says that. Maybe I come back another time and talk about street sharks. But I'm like, oh man, that
Yeah.
would have been so fun.